players should you add to your fantasy football team before week 8? What's going on, fantasy freaks? It's Mitch here, back with another must-adds video. And in this video, it's my 10 favorite players to target on your waiver wire entering week 8. Wide receivers, running backs, and even tight ends in this video. If that sounds good, spike the like button and don't forget to subscribe to OwnersBox Fantasy for weekly must-adds. Let's begin with the number one player to target and to add. And at this point, it's week 8, man, which means hopefully your depth is secure and you've made wise decisions with your roster, additions, trades. Maybe you need one tweak, one add to put you over the top. So it's time to be aggressive if you haven't already. And if you need a receiver, you should be aggressive with these top 2 players. First, Jawan Jennings of the San Francisco 49ers. There are not many situations in the NFL where you can plug and play a wide receiver and you're going to get similar production. But when I look at Jawan Jennings, the Niners are such a well-oiled, crafted, schematic offense that Jawan Jennings, being that he's very talented, can come in and replace Brandon Ayuk and give you maybe even wide receiver 2 quality production. At least that's what we've seen throughout this season. And I think he's a plug and play wide receiver 3 on a weekly basis in this offense. So you have to pick him up regardless of format. He is a must add. And almost regardless of your team makeup, he is a add because at the very least, he could give you some trade value, right? Like, Jawan Jennings is a baller. We've already seen this year, 25 catches, 404 yards, and 3 touchdowns on the season with 36 targets. When Brandon Ayuk was coming back slow off the holdout, Jawan Jennings was super productive. When Deebo Samuel was injured, Jawan Jennings stepped up, super productive. Now, we do know that Deebo is going to get an uptick. Kittle is going to get an uptick. These guys are going to have great days. Christian McCaffrey is coming back, and he'll catch the football as well. Ricky Pearsall could be involved. But Jawan Jennings might be the receiver that plays the most amount of snaps for the 49ers for the remainder of the season. When you consider Deebo gets hurt a lot and even sick now, apparently. And then on top of that, he is the big outside physical target. Like, he's the contested catch guy. He is the third and Jawan. He is the red zone guy. He's the guy that makes the big play in the big moment for the 49ers. They missed him against the Chiefs. And he is a separator, but he's also good with the ball in the air, contested catches. He's a physical guy that's got good size. So he can line up out wide. He can play inside. Like, he can play everywhere, which gives him Ayuk or Deebo flexibility, right? That ability to play inside or out and play the X or play the Z or play the slot. So he can do every role, play every role for Shanahan, which makes him extremely valuable, right? So Jawan Jennings is 30% owned, which is crazy because early in the season, he was like top 5 in receiving yards. Then, of course, all these players came back, even including Ricky Pearsall, and everyone kind of dropped him because of that. And then now he's available again. So pick him up. Pick him up, spend your fab, put him at the top of your list. Like, Jawan Jennings is a baller. He's a good football player in a good offense. He will be productive for your fantasy team. Romeo Doubs is also somebody that you need to target this week. If he's not already owned, some leagues he will be 44% owned, actually more than Jawan Jennings, which is pretty crazy, which is part of the reason I put him number 2. But the other reason is the Packers are tricky to figure out on a weekly basis. They have inconsistency built into their offense. The whole idea behind the Packers receiving core is that they have like 4 guys that can beat you in a given week. One week it will be Reed. One week it will be Doubs. One week it will be Wicks or Watson. Even Kraft can make big plays. So you just have so many different targets. But Romeo Doubs has seen consistency over the last 2 weeks. Really, after he complained about maybe he wanted to get traded, his numbers have gone up, right? And he is mostly their dirty work X receiver. He's the guy that lines up out wide. He's the guy that is a red zone downfield threat. He is very good on fade balls, very good on contested catches, and he's also very good on slants. And I think Romeo has become a better intermediate route runner, which I think has raised the level of his play. So 23 catches, 312 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had 2 touchdowns against the Cardinals, and he had a huge day against the Texans. So that's 2 weeks in a row where he's been very consistent and very productive for fantasy. I would consider him a wide receiver 3 flex type of play in fantasy, and I'd also consider him a great bye-week fill-in option because in any given week, he could be a wide receiver 1 on the week or a wide receiver 2 on the week. So that's what's really nice about having a Packer receiver is that in bye-week situations, any of these guys can be very, very productive for your fantasy team. So Romeo Doubs, pick him up. Jawan, then Doubs on my list. Then Cedric Tillman will not be owned in your league. He's literally owned in 0% of Yahoo leagues, which is an insane, I don't think it's literally 0, but it's very, very low. And he had an amazing week for the Browns. And what's interesting about Tillman is that he took over for Cooper as the primary outside X receiver in the offense. So there's a designed role for that player specifically. And Tillman will be getting a lot of targets and play because of that. On top of it, he's young. The Browns are kind of in a lose mode. Like they're going to be sellers at the deadline. So they want to showcase their younger players and get them and develop them. So Tillman definitely in that category. I liked him coming out of college. He's NFL ready. He's a guy that is not the fastest, but he's physical. He can catch in confined space. And I think he's a good perimeter player. I would also say that with Deshaun Watson out for the season with an Achilles, Jameis Winston, he just chucks the ball everywhere. So you're going to get opportunities to make plays with Jameis Winston at quarterback, and this offense will probably be more productive. So Cedric Tillman, he's definitely an add. If you have the space on your roster, I feel like he's another guy that could be a bye-week fill for the rest of the year. I don't see consistency within this Browns offense, but I do see a role for him in fantasy. Definitely a bench stash type player and see how he performs. Ricky Pearsall in San Francisco. So I brought him up already, but Ricky Pearsall is a rookie, first-round pick for the 49ers. He's also the guy, you remember? Yeah, I'm not going to say it, maybe because of YouTube, but Ricky Pearsall, 5 targets, 3 receptions, 21 yards. Ricky Pearsall, 13% owned. He's probably out there somewhere in one of your leagues, and I liked him in college. He is very tough, very good in terms of lateral agility and movement. He is a good route runner, and I think the more play he gets in the NFL, the better he's going to be. He's somebody that obviously didn't really get to play much in the offseason or training camp, and didn't play at all so far this year. So he basically stepped into the wide receiver 3 role for the 49ers in his first game of action against the Chiefs. That's a huge spot to really trust that rookie in, and Kyle trusted him in that role. So he did have 3 catches. He did have 5 targets. I think that he's just going to get better and better and better, and I could see him being a really good player by the end of this season. So I think he's somebody that you might have to stash to see how he performs, but I could see him really developing a big role near the end of the season for this Niners team, especially if they get cooking on offense, their run game gets going with McCaffrey. This guy could really take off down the stretch. So Ricky Pearsall, pick him up, stash him as well. At the running back position, I think the top ad this week is Alexander Madison, 54% owned, so right on that fringe of he's probably owned in a majority of your leagues if you're in more competitive, contested leagues. But if you're in a little bit of a thinner league, Madison's definitely out there, and anytime a running back gets 20 carries in a game, he's definitely somebody worth picking up. So he has basically become the starting running back for the Raiders the last 3 weeks. Zamir White has been supplanted or replaced, and Madison catches the ball 17 times this year. He runs the ball 69 attempts this year. He has 4 total touchdowns on the year, and he had his best game against the Rams. He looked pretty good in my opinion as well. He was breaking tackles, and the Raiders have to be a run-first team because their passing game features no real receiver talent right now, especially with Jacoby Myers hurt, Devontae Adams traded. So I think Madison, you could start him as a flex player right now. He's not going to be the highest ceiling guy, but he provides a nice floor. Ray Davis is a definite stash and a potential handcuff option. We saw how productive he was with James Cook out against the Jets, and I think he could be very productive moving forward. He's just a talented runner. He's tough, and he's a definite red zone threat and presence as well. So if the James Cook owner doesn't already have him, you could probably find a way to trade Ray Davis to that owner because of the last couple of weeks where Cook's been a little shaky in terms of in or out of the lineup, so you might be able to package him in a trade, but also Davis could just be handy if Cook does miss some time. He's an instant starter and one of the best offenses in football and a very good rushing attack. Blake Corum is a handcuff option for Kyren Williams, seems to be the number 2 right now for Sean McVay's preference, and he's been getting a little bit more play lately. He's tough in between the tackles, and he showcases quick cutting ability. He's a good, pure runner, so I think he would be a good replacement for Kyren if Kyren does go down for some reason, and we know how much those guys get the ball. I mean, Kyren's scoring like 2 touchdowns a week right now, so that could be Corum if you play your cards right. Tyler Goodson has just really impressed me for the Colts. Now, the question is, he could go up or down this list depending on if Jonathan Taylor is playing or not. Jonathan Taylor has been out with an ankle, and that's really hurt fantasy owners. Trey Sermon is pretty pathetic, honestly, in terms of fantasy production. Goodson has been the preferable player with his receiving upside, his explosiveness, and the Colts haven't really been able to consistently run the ball in terms of 3, 4, or 5 yards of carry. They've more been a team where they get the occasional explosive, but a lot of it has been pretty, underwhelming. So on average. So Tyler Goodson with his receiving upside, with his 3-down ability, he's a smaller back, but he's more explosive than Sermon. He becomes an option, especially if Taylor is out this week. He's probably startable in a majority of leagues. And then finishing off with the tight end position, JUCO Smith is only 4% owned. He had a fantastic game against the Colts. I think he had like 9 catches on the day, and he really developed a chemistry with Tyler Huntley. But I don't think that was exactly just Snoop Huntley's doing. I think that was also Mike McDaniel's intention. JUCO Smith is an excellent athlete. He's very good in space. He's excellent at breaking tackles, and he's very good on screens. He is really that third option for the Miami Dolphins in their receiving game to open up Tyreek and Waddle. Now that Tua's back, Jonnu might not see as many targets, but I think his efficiency will be very high. And given the status of the tight end position in this type of offense, Jonnu is definitely an ad for me. And then Hunter Henry is going to be our final ad of this video, our 10th and final. Hunter Henry has a quarterback. His name is Drake May, and I would add Drake May as well in your leagues if you need a quarterback. But Hunter Henry, he is the number 2 receiver in this offense. Demario Douglas, who was actually sick against the Jacksonville Jags in London, and he didn't really get to play. Henry stepped up. He had 9 catches, but Henry is going to be the number 2 option. He's going to be more of the red zone threat, a third down chain mover, a contested catch guy for May, and May loves to work that middle of the field. He's excellent. That was his best area of his college game. He's going to throw a powerful ball with touch, and Henry's going to go up and snag it. He has 39 targets on the season already. They love to feature their tight ends in this Van Pelt offense. I think Henry continues to be very startable, especially now with Drake May in the lineup for the Patriots. The first 2 weeks with Drake May, Henry's seen some definite upside. So those are your 10 must-add players on the waiver wire entering week 8. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. It's Mitch. Thank you so much for watching. Spike the like button. We'll see you in the next video. Make sure to check out our trade video where we talk about buy lows and sell highs. That's the next video coming from me on this channel. Peace, guys.